100 mark of Bible contradictions that we've studied. I think I counted the examples that we've already looked at. I think we're up to about 90. So another 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll change gears and move on to another subject for once we cross that 100 threshold. Did I read this to you in our 12 o'clock Sunday school hour? I don't think I did. Yeah. Oh, in our 12 o'clock hour? Okay. What nation is the highest per capita in wine consumption? What nation consumes the most wine per person in the world? Now, some of you have iPhones. I don't want you trying to research it before I give you the answer. Believe it or not, the answer is the Vatican. Vatican City is an actual country. It only has about 750 full-time residents that live there. Every Roman Catholic who's been baptized into the Catholic Church is considered a citizen of the Vatican. They might not even realize it, but they have dual citizenship if push came to shove. Not only are they a citizen of the United States, for example here, but they are also a citizen of Vatican State by virtue of their Catholic membership. It's just that it's not big enough to hold 1 billion people in the world that belong to that religion. So there are about 750 full-time residents that live there, and per capita, the Vatican State, Vatican City, they consume more wine per person than any other country. This is according to the last comprehensive report on wine consumption by country was carried out by the CIA for their World Fact Book, as reported in the Wine Institute of California website that gives the web address here. It showed Vatican City State consuming just over 62 liters per person, 2 liters more than the second place runner-up, which was the country of Andorra. And I'm not even sure where Andorra is. That's how bad I am on world geography. So if Alex Trebek ever asked me, I won't have the answer for him. But one of you who knows standard metric measurements, figure out how many gallons 62 liters is. And you'll have an idea of roughly how much wine each person at the Vatican consumes each year. A bunch of alcoholics and lushes. They also have, believe it or not, one of the highest crime rates of any country in the world. Now, it's not, murder and that sort of thing, but they have a very high pickpocket rate. Tourists that are getting their wallets stolen, their purses snatched. One of the highest crime rates, if you're counting those types of crimes in the statistic, of nearly all countries of the world. It's good to start recording our Bible class, but once in a while I'll come up with something good that someone watching on the internet learns that they wouldn't have known any other place. Okay, let's go to our lessons today. I have 3 more examples of alleged Bible contradictions. And this first example, I need you to turn to about 4 references. First of all, turn to the book of Romans, chapter 3. Romans, chapter 3. And let's read a couple verses there. Romans 3, verse 10. States, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. We're going down to verse 23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Now, look over at 1 John, chapter 3. The book of 1 John, chapter 3. And 1 John, chapter 3, verse 9. Says, whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. And another verse which you don't need to turn to is Luke chapter 1 and verse 6. which states that John the Baptist's parents, Zacharias and Elizabeth, it says that they were both righteous. So, here's the problem. Is it true that there is none righteous, no, not one? Or are there some people who, in fact, are righteous after all? Obviously, both statements can't be absolute, otherwise there'd be a clear, undeniable contradiction in the Bible. Either all men are unrighteous, or all men are righteous. And Romans 3:10 says there is none righteous, no, not one. If there's none righteous, why did the Bible say that Noah was righteous in the Lord's eyes? Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. The Bible even declares that Job was a perfect and an upright man before God. Job 1, verse 1. If there is none righteous, how can the Bible promise that the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much? James 5:16. If there's none righteous, then no one fits that category. Nobody's going to have their effectual fervent prayer answered. Which is it? Is there no one righteous? Is there some that are righteous, therefore contradicting the first verse? The answer, which takes some study, but when we consider other verses written by the Apostle Paul, that men are saved by grace through faith, he says, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast, Ephesians 2:9, then the context of Romans 3:10 suddenly changes. Obviously, it becomes self-evident. He's talking about people. Romans 3:10 can't mean that no one, it doesn't mean that no one is capable of doing good. But that they haven't always done good, or they haven't done good exclusively without doing evil. I believe that if Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun had lived at the end of World War II and had children, that they would have been as loving of parents as probably the majority of people you know. To say that there is none righteous, no, not one, there's none that doeth good, it doesn't mean that no man is capable of doing some good. If he wasn't capable of doing any good at all, then Ephesians 2:9 wouldn't make any sense. Obviously, some people are capable of doing good, and they're depending upon that to save them. So what Paul must mean in Romans 3:10 is that there is no one that has done only good without doing evil. You haven't done good exclusively all the time. See if I can expand on this a little bit more. Luke 1, verse 6 says Zacharias and Elizabeth were both righteous, and then it states how? Walking in all the commandments and the ordinances of the Lord, blameless. See, there's conditions attached to some of these statements. In Luke 1:6, they were righteous by walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord, blameless. In 1 John chapter 3, the person who is said to be unable to commit sin anymore is the one who is abiding in Christ. 1 John 3, verse 6. And the one who is in Christ is very simply the one who has Christ living in him. This is how you get into Jesus Christ, by asking him to come live inside you. This is clear from John 14, verse 20. That all may be one, and I and thee, and I and them, and they and me, and so forth, Jesus said. If you are in Christ, because Christ lives in you, the righteousness of Christ has now been imputed to you, according to Romans chapter 4. That is, it's been credited to your account, Romans chapter 4, verses 5 and 6. The doctrine of, when 1 John 3:9 says, he that is born of God doth not commit sin, for his seed, that's God's seed, remaineth in him, the man, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. That verse really gives modern Christians trouble. They don't understand that verse. They keep reinterpreting every time someone calls up the radio program, asks Chuck Smith or one of his underlings to comment on that verse.